Next on HBC Channel 25, Dean Beckman along with Sports Information Director Donny Nadeau back to talk St. Mary's Athletics here on the Cardinals Nest. Thanks for watching HBC Channel 25. And Donny, later in the program, in our interview segment today, we'll be discussing women's soccer. The St. Mary's women's soccer team off to a good start this year with new head coach Neil Cassidy, and we'll also have as his guest Kelsey Schneider, one of the seniors for the Cardinals this year. She'll be joining us as well. Yeah,
it'll be great to have them on. I'm looking forward to grilling Coach Cassidy a little bit. I still want to find out how he can drive a BMW as the head coach at St. Mary's. So I'm gonna have to ask him about that. And I'm looking forward to having Kelsey on. She's been with this team now for 4 seasons, and just get kind of her take on how the program has changed since Coach Cassidy took over.
All right, so we'll have them on a little bit later in the program and talk about their recent victory as well last weekend. Donny, first though, we begin by recapping M Club weekend, which is the big weekend where a lot of the alumni for St. Mary's sports come back, and there's an award ceremony, a Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and a lot of awards are given out from last year's sports season as well. First, recap for us the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, as we have 3 new Hall of Famers.
It actually was a really great weekend, and we did induct 3 people into the Hall of Fame. All 3 of them happened to be hockey players. Nate DeMars and Frank Savino graduated in '98, and then John Redpath graduated in '80. And then the really neat thing about the 3 of them is Nate and Frank played together from the day they stepped onto the St. Mary's campus. They played on the same line together all 4 years. Both were outstanding contributors. They ranked very high in the record books in terms of points and goals and assists. And then John was kind of a trailblazer back in the late '70s. And the nice thing about that is he's also Nate's uncle. So we had a little family tie there too. So it was really nice to induct those 3, and I had the privilege of coaching both Nate and Frank when I worked with Coach Olson on the men's side, and it was nice to see them back, and they did a great job of giving their acceptance speeches, and John had some great stories to tell. So it was really a lot of fun, and really three people who truly were deserving of the honor of being in the Hall of Fame.
And you know, Donny, Bill Moore, the current men's hockey coach for the Cardinals, he helped organize this weekend. I'm sure he had made sure his players were there and listening to the 3 former hockey players.
Absolutely, and it was real interesting because John asked all of the hockey players to stand up, and John had a bunch of the players that he played with had come with to watch John be inducted, and he said to the current players, he says, you owe these guys a round of applause, and I think what he was trying to get at is John's era kind of blazed the trail for the guys that are here now, and kind of gave them what they have now. And he kind of explained, when I played here, we played outdoors, and so the current guys, they have their own rink right here on campus. So it's important to remember the people that came here before you and the things that they did, and to make things as nice as they are for us now here at St. Mary's today.
Right. And then as far as some of the other awards that were handed out, we have the Outstanding Scholar Athlete Awards, and these went to seniors from last year who Donny and I have talked extensively about here on the Cardinals Nest. David Feather, Sarah Harstad, outstanding scholar athletes from a year ago.
Yeah, 2 very deserving people, and you look at David Feather in the year that he had, being an all-conference and all-region performer in cross-country, and then Sarah Harstad, a dual-sport athlete playing volleyball as well as track and field. She went to the national championships in track and field in the outdoor season, so 2 very, very deserving. That's a very important honor because you're being honored not only for what you're doing on the field of competition, but also what you do in the classroom, and they are both 2 outstanding students as well as athletes, and I think that it's very important to be recognized as what you do in the classroom as much as you do on the field of competition.
And Donny, in just a minute, we're going to talk about this year's volleyball team. But a member of last year's team, somebody they sorely missed this year, is Sarah Gardner, and she was named one of the outstanding athletes of the year, along with Andrew Brigham, who was on this show a year ago, and his outstanding track accomplishments.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about those 2. And the interesting thing there is they were our outstanding male and female athletes last year as well. So they made the repeat, and to do that, you talk about coming up with a great encore for your own individual performances if you have a good year. I mean, to be honored as our outstanding athletes 2 years in a row is pretty impressive. Volleyball team certainly misses Sarah, and I'm sure that Coach McMahon's going to miss Andrew when track seasons start. When you've got a person who's gone to 4 national championships in the last 4 seasons and is a 2-time All-American, those are those are things that are going to be sorely missed when track starts.
Yep, no question about that. So congratulations to all of the award winners, Hall of Fame inductees, and another successful M Club weekend. It was a busy weekend with all of the alumni games, and it was Young Alumni Weekend as well. So that is wrapped up, and kind of a good kickoff to the fall sports season. And speaking of the fall sports season, volleyball once again off to a great start, even though Mike Lester has had to field some new athletes out there this year. They're off to a great start. They're just returning, Donnie, from the Endicott tournament out in Boston, where they played very well against excellent competition.
Yeah, Coach Lester was very happy with the way that they played over the weekend. I think he'd be happier if they were 4-0 on the tournament instead of 3-1. But you're playing against teams that he's never seen before, can't really scout and have any idea what kind of performances they have. But I know that from his standpoint, they were very, very happy with the way that they played. They opened up with a 3-0 victory, and then there's 3 straight 3-2 matches, 2 of them which they won, and then the last one against Bowdoin, they lost 3-2. So I think the one thing that he can really take out of that is they got pressed to the limit a little bit, and they got forced into that fifth set, and it's good with a young team to see how they respond to to having to come up with a solid performance in a 5th set, and I think right now he's very happy with what he's seen.
Well, and I'll tell you, some of those freshmen are really playing well. He's getting major contributions from those younger players, and they're still winning. I mean, it's not just a rebuilding year. He's counting on some of these younger players and other players who maybe they're not so young, but this is the first time they've been pressed into heavy duty, and they're coming through.
Absolutely, and you got to give a lot of credit to Tara Rasmussen, the Cardinals libero. She made the all-tournament team, 73 digs and 9 aces in the 4 matches that they had out in Massachusetts. So, again, we always seem to talk about Amy Kuyak and Lexi Asimos, and it's nice to be talking about some other people who are making contributions that really need to be. Carissa Hans had a great start to the season. Kara Grant, one of those freshmen, continues to pound the ball from the outside, and I think that those are the kind of people that Coach Lester is going to need to rely on. Yes, there's going to be some freshmen that need to step in and fill some big roles. When you lose Sarah Gardner and Jess Mate, somebody's got to step into those roles, and right now they're doing a very nice job of mixing in those freshmen, but also getting some great leadership from some of the returners. Not necessarily just the seniors, but also just returners in general who have been through the trenches and know what collegiate volleyball is all about, and are doing a really nice job so far. Big match as we tape. It's Wednesday. We tape on Wednesdays, and they have a big match tonight against McAllister in their MIAC opener. So we're kicking off the next part of the season, which is very important. And it'll be neat to talk to Coach Cassidy about the same thing, because you have all those non-conference games and matches beforehand. Now it's for real, and now it's when it really counts. So I know Coach Lester is excited to see what they do in conference play today, and then Saturday at Augsburg.
Right, and the Cardinals still 3 tournaments to go yet, too, on some different weekends, not counting the MIAC tournament, which they hopefully will be in again this year as well. The other thing with the Cardinals' schedule in volleyball, just 5 home matches in the conference play, and they actually end the season with 4 straight conference road games. And
yeah, I think one of the things you look at with volleyball is a little bit different than most sports, but in volleyball, you need to play 30+ matches, and you only have 10 teams in the conference or 12 teams in the conference, so you need to come up with over half of your schedule as non-conference. So that's where those tournaments fall into play, and you can play 2 matches in a day, so you can get 4 matches in a weekend. So it kind of helps build your schedule up, and it also helps for regional rankings. I mean, when Coach Lester does his scheduling and picks the tournaments that they play in, the important thing he looks at is, where are these opponents? Are they regional opponents that we can use when they come with regional rankings? And the way he's got things going for NCAA purposes, it's important that they do as well non-conferencely as they do in conference play. So the quirky part of the schedule is the way it's set up right now is they have a lot of road games at the end, and next year they'll probably have a lot of home matches at the end. And so the nice thing is they did have the Sugarloaf Classic, so they did have 4 home matches that first weekend of the season. But you're right, at the end of the season, when you kind of want to be home, they're going to be on the road for 4 straight matches.
Well, it'll be a good test for them then, but as you said, they start the season at home Wednesday in MIAC play against McAllister. Looking ahead now to women's golf action, Donnie. They were down in Waverly, Iowa this past weekend, and definitely the best performance of the season, especially for 3 of the women's golfers. They really played well down there.
Yeah, and it's funny when you promo that and say, for 3 of the women's golfers, the interesting thing about that is it wasn't Gia Pooch and it wasn't Rachel Lamberty, their top 2 players. Coach Landrum got some outstanding performances from some people that he needs to rely on in Lauren Albrecht and Jenna Mrazinski and Sarah Gustafson. All 3 of them had their career best rounds in the second round of the Wartburg tournament, which helped them shoot a 349, which is the 3rd lowest 18-hole score in the program's history, and also helped them to the second best 2-day total that they've had in program history in shooting a 715. So it's very nice that he got some outstanding performances from some people other than Gia and Rachel, because the important thing right now is to find that depth. You know that Gia and Rachel are gonna shoot their low scores. What they need now is for those other 3 to continue to shoot the way they are, and I think that the future would be very bright, and they're going to make some noise in the conference championships.
I've got to believe for Gia and Rachel, it's a weight lifted off their shoulders. They had to feel some extra undue stress, feeling like they had to carry the load and always shoot their best golf.
Absolutely. You look at Gia right now, she's a senior, and this is the first time in her 4 years that her score did not count in a round. And that's not a knock on Gia. She still shot a very good round. It's just that they didn't have to rely on her to turn in that 82 or that 83 that she's capable of shooting. She can have an off day, and they still have people that can help out. And it was great to see Jenna and Lauren and Sarah shoot very well. And for Lauren, that was an outstanding performance. She shot an 85, and for her, that's outstanding. By far her career best round. So if they can continue to improve and continue to do that, the future is very bright.
Should be a beautiful weekend for them to be playing at the Jewel Golf Course in Lake City, as they'll be at the Division III Midwest Classic.
Yeah, and Coach Landrum's excited. I talked to him before our taping, and that the Jewel is very similar to the course one of the courses they played at UW Eau Claire, and it was very similar to the courses they played at in Waverly. So it's going to be the same type of a course. They've proven what they can shoot on that type of a course. So he's very excited about the weekend and what it holds in store for them. Plus the fact that they're able to drive up, play the tournament, and then come home. And we always talk about playing on the road and whatnot. For them, they've got to stay in a hotel because of it's a 2-day back-to-back. So now being able to come home between rounds is going to be a super benefit to them.
And for the men's golfers, Donnie, they had a 36-hole invitational at Augsburg. They played in Ham Lake, Minnesota, and a much better second day than they had first day. So at least they ended on a pretty bright note on the men's side.
Yeah, and when we talked at the beginning of the season about the men's golf team and what Coach Landrum was looking for, it was consistency. Consistency and living up to the potential that they have and the ability to shoot the scores that they're capable of shooting. And I think in the second round, you saw much more of what they're able to shoot. Ethan Austin came up with a 76. Tim Wolford had an 80. And talking to Coach Landrum, both of those scores could have been much lower. Ethan was even par after 15 holes, and Tim was 5 over with 4 to play. So, right now, they're starting to get in their groove, and they're starting to play the way they're capable of playing. Hopefully, they can get a couple other guys to come through and maybe get some scores lower than they're shooting, and get five scorers that can contribute to a good performance for the team.
Mm-hmm. And they'll go to Sauk Rapids this weekend for the St. John's Invitation.
Yeah, they played 2 courses up in the St. Cloud area, and it's a big tournament. 21 teams. Virtually all of the MIAC schools will be there, so it'll be a little bit of a preview of what the MIAC championships are going to be all about, and that's always good. It's nice to know where you stack up, and not only as a team but individually. If Ethan can come through and shoot a couple 76s, it'll be nice to see where he falls among all the MIAC schools, and as they prepare, the thing that they're looking forward to is those 3 days in early October when they go to the conference championships.
We'll talk men's soccer here in just a minute, but Donnie, cross-country action, they did not have a meet this past weekend. They're coming off the Alumni Open for St. Mary's, and then they had a week off, and now where are they this weekend?
Yeah, they head to St. Olaf to Northfield for a big invitational in Northfield, and I know talking to Coach Barron, he's pretty excited. They needed some rest. They've got some nagging injuries on both the men's and women's sides, and for them to be able to get some rest and get everybody healthy, they'll be ready to go this Saturday.
All right, let's go to men's soccer now. Remember, in the interview segment coming up here shortly, we'll discuss women's soccer with head coach Neil Cassidy and a player as well. But Donnie, in men's soccer action, they finally got that big first win against Grinnell College on last Saturday.
Yeah, it was the first win for them, and obviously the first win for Coach Watkins as the Cardinals head coach. And it was an outstanding game when they played Grinnell. I mean, it was a very exciting game, very physical game. And you know, Jacob Bina scored in the first half, and they made that stand up. And I think one of the reasons they made it stand up, or one of the key contributors, was obviously Chris Williams, the senior goalkeeper for the Cardinals. He was coming off his first collegiate shutout in a 0-0 tie against North Central. He turns around and has a 5-save shutout against Grinnell on Saturday, so he got his second straight shutout and earned MIAC Player of the Week honors in the process. So very deserving honor for Chris Williams, and he's playing extremely well. And if he can continue to play well, and the Cardinal offense can kind of get on track and really get clicking, you know, who knows where this team could go. There's a lot of talent on this squad. Defensively, they're outstanding. Brian New, Bobby Gass, you know, Patrick Moore, Gunnar Knutson are playing fantastic in the back row, and you know, you got Chris in goal. Chris made several huge saves against Grinnell, and I think that you know, they can only continue to get better. And I think once the offense gets going and really starts clicking on all cylinders, I think they're going to be one of the teams that's going to surprise a lot of people in the conference.
Yeah, no question about it. We talked on the show last week when we had them on as guests. They had a lot of close games last year, and certainly as you look at how things have been going this year, it's very similar. But with a new coach, a new system, new attitude, they'll probably win some of these close games that maybe they lost last year.
Yeah, when you play 4 games this year and every one of them is decided by 1 goal or less, that's you know, that's it. You could have a great season, or you could have a season where people are going to look and say, "Whoa, you know, didn't do very well," because that's the kind of play they're going to have. Everything's going to be close. Everything's going to be a battle to the finish, and you know, you can see a different attitude on the team, and just, you know, it's energizing to watch. They're exciting. They're very talented. And I think that Coach Watkins is putting his stamp on this program, and I think they're going to be very good for a long time.
All right. Well, Coach Watkins was on the show last week. Women's soccer coach Neil Cassidy will be our guest coming up next, along with Kelsey Schneider, one of his senior players. That's right next here on the Cardinals Nest on HBC.
Looking for an easy, no-hassle phone plan? Then stop at HBC at 58 Johnson Street, and for as little as $40 a month, you can get a nationwide plan that's just right for you.
We really like the customer service at HBC. If we have a question, we can call Terry, and she's really helpful, and she explains it so we can understand it.
And if you would like to add to your plan, HBC Mobile has all the options you want. HBC Mobile, just another great service from HBC, helping you communicate in tomorrow's world today.
Sweet, sweet, sweet!
What are you so excited about?
HBC's Refer a Friend promo. Do you have HBC?
No.
Well, that is a problem I can help fix and get a discount on my HBC account in the meantime.
How so?
When you refer a friend and they sign up for HBC services, you both get discounts. Not to mention great service and support from HBC.
We should tweet all our friends about Refer a Friend from HBC.
Great idea.
Tweet, tweet. Hey, you, tweet!
Oh, Robin, you're so behind the times.
And we're back here on the Cardinals Nest. Dean Beckman, Donny Nadeau, joined now by Kelsey Schneider and head coach Neil Cassidy for the women's soccer team. Kelsey, one of his senior players, and we are going to talk women's soccer now here on the interview segment on HBC Channel 25. And Kelsey, let's start with you. You're one of about 6 seniors on the roster this year. Tell us where you're from and how you sort of got playing soccer when you were younger and how you landed at St. Mary's.
I'm actually from Portland, Oregon, so I'm quite far away. I started playing soccer when I was 5 and have been playing ever since.
Mm-hmm. So since you're from Portland,
yeah,
your story about how you got to St. Mary's should be fascinating, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually transferred to St. Mary's my sophomore year, so I didn't play soccer my freshman year. I found St. Mary's on collegeboard.com and just said things that I wanted in the college, and soccer was one of those. I really missed soccer my freshman year of college, and so just wanted to try something new. I have relatives in Minnesota, so
Well, we're glad you're here. What's your major at St. Mary's?
Accounting.
Okay.
And
great.
Coach Cassidy, we'll ask you the same question, but once you start speaking, I'm sure most people will know where you're from. Talk a little bit about your background and really how you ended up coming to St. Mary's as well.
Parlez-vous français?
Yep, got it.
I'm from England. I actually started out as a volunteer in 2004, 2006 with the men's program with Coach Luzzy. I then spent the next 5 years at Carleton College, and then when this opportunity arose, I jumped at the chance to come back to St. Mary's.
Talk a little bit about your playing career, because I know you also played as well for a number of years before you started coaching.
Yeah, I didn't have a choice whether I was going to play or not. It was you grow up in England, and you kind of forced us to who you're going to support and who you want to try and play for. So I grew up, same thing. As soon as I could walk, I was kicking a ball. I was lucky enough to be at Manchester United when I was 11 and 12. I was quite tall for my age, and they, as a goalkeeper, they then saw my father, who's 5'7", and decided to let me go. Wasn't getting any bigger. So I then moved into coaching when I was 16, 17 years old, and ended up playing semi-pro for 4 or 5 years before moving to the States.
Kelsey, your second coach at St. Mary's is Coach Cassidy. Can you talk a little bit about any adjustments you've had to make between maybe the style of play that Coach Zimmerman used to run compared to the style that Coach Cassidy has?
Yeah, I feel like we're a lot more organized this year. Coach Neal has created like traditions and stuff within our program, making St. Mary's a team that you want to play for, a team that you're going to have pride in. We're really excited.
Well, and Coach, of course, there's adjustments for the coaches too, not just the players. Talk about your growth as a coach during your 5 years at Carleton. You were at St. Mary's as an assistant for a few years before going to Carleton, now coming back here as head coach. How do you feel you've changed in that period of time as a coach?
I mean, I'll be honest, it was a great, Kevin Goodman, the coach at Carleton, was a great mentor. I learned a lot from her, and I owe her credit to being able to deal with the things and implementing some of the things I'm trying to. So that was really positive. I've been a head coach before, and I know the stresses and strains that come with it. But meeting the team for the first time on day one of pre-season was interesting, and it was a steep learning experience, getting to know each other. But we had an awesome pre-season, and we just kept on going.
I think one of the things that I've found in just the short amount of time that you've been here is you refuse to acknowledge individuals. It's a team aspect. It's a team atmosphere. Talk a little bit about that and why you feel the importance of that.
I think, as you were saying earlier in the broadcast, if you mention certain players, maybe they feel they have to perform. Maybe it's perceived as, from other players, that there's favourites on the team. I treat everybody equally. Exactly the same whether you're a freshman or a senior, you get treated the same by me. And it is a family. That's what I'm trying to get across, is the family experience.
Kelsey, as a senior, it's your last year of collegiate soccer. And I know it's only 4 games into the season, but how have things been going? Has it kind of settled in that this is your last year of collegiate soccer?
Not quite. I can't even imagine not playing next year, but at this point, we started out with we have lost 3 games, but our latest one we won, and I think that's really good since we're going into our first MIAC game today. I think we're ready to get serious. We got our pre-jitters out in the preseason. We're ready to go.
Coach, talk about that Marion game, and you know, for you, your first victory as a head coach here at St. Mary's, it must have been a good burden to get off of everybody's back, getting that first win under your belt.
Yeah, I was looking at those first 4 games to be, how are we playing? Are we developing? Are we learning the system? The results, for me, could be whatever they could be. What positives can we take out of every game? We scored some goals. We scored first in the game against Oshkosh, so we know we can do it. We know we can score. We know we can defend well when we do now go ahead. So that's all going to stand in really good stead for the game tonight.
Well, and Coach Cassidy, too, against Marion, 3 goals, so the offense is really starting to click here as you get into conference play, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, it's we've done some work all across the board, and we expect anybody at any time to come up and score a goal. So again, we're not trying to put any pressure on those certain players or the forwards. We have to get them the ball in the positions for them to score.
And how do you approach tonight's game against St. Thomas? Obviously, you have a game plan, and you won't tell me because I've asked you before. But how do you approach the game? From a tactical standpoint, do you look at what you want to do, or do you focus a little bit on what St. Thomas does? How do you approach it?
I've looked at the personalities of the team. We made a slight adjustment to our system, just based on what our strengths are and how we can best play to our strengths. So we're going to do a little bit of some dangerous players against St. Thomas. Here's generally what to watch out for, but we're going to focus on us.
Kelsey, the game's at home.
Yeah.
Obviously a nice place to play at night. Talk a little bit about the atmosphere of playing at Okemewich Field, and especially under the lights.
Oh, we have by far the best field in the conference. And the night games are the best with the lights on and everything. In our past few games this year, we've had crowds way better than in the previous years. So St. Mary's athletes supporting other athletes, it's like a new thing for this year that we're really trying to work on. So,
Coach, I'm interested to hear a little bit about your recruiting philosophy. I'm sure you've done plenty of recruiting since you've been an assistant coach before. So what's the mindset as you look to bring new players to St. Mary's in the coming years here?
Just student athletes. I mean, we've got to remember we're a Division III school. So my first focus is getting the quality student athletes on board. We've got to look at if can they play soccer. I mean, all the tournaments we're going to now, we're not settling for Minnesota, Wisconsin. We're settling for across the Midwest and the country, and even internationally. We've got 7 players so far set up, ready to come on campus from Colorado, Kentucky, Kansas City, Indiana. So we're really starting to reach out beyond the tri-state region, if you like.
Sure. Oregon, maybe. Right?
yeah, right.
We just had a discussion on that before, so
okay.
watch for that to come.
Yeah.
The other thing I was wondering about is, as you go into conference play now, are you a coach that likes to set specific goals for your team? Every coach is a little different as far as goal setting goes. What has been your philosophy?
My philosophy is to help the athletes decide what they want to achieve. So they've come up with their set of goals, and it's my job to make sure or trying to help them achieve those goals, not only as a collective group, but also as an individual. I think if I do that and my coaching staff does that, then we'll be successful not only on the soccer field, but in life and going forward in life as well.
Sure. Kelsey, as a result of that, do the players seem to take a little more ownership with how the season progresses and everything?
Yeah, we created goals at the beginning of the season, like to win our first MIAC game, so that's tonight. So we'll see how that goes. Other things like making the end-season tournament, not getting scored on in the first 10 or last 10 minutes, things like that. We have a list and we focus on those.
And Coach Cassidy, just a minute left here in the segment. Talk about your assistants just a little bit. Drew Taylor, Jeff Hallberg, and Jennifer Geske. Jeff, of course, has been a long-time assistant for the Cardinals.
Yep, Jeff's been around. He's good to know what's happening, what's going on. I did ask him not to tell me anything about any of the players to start with, because I wanted to make my own judgments.
Right, sure.
Drew's coming in from Pete. Met him for the first time. He's doing a great job behind the scenes for us. And then Jen Geske was a goalkeeper.
A very good
good, maybe a future
yes.
Hall of Famer, who knows. But she was, I think, at the female aspect was pretty important to get on board as well, and she was happy to come in and do that.
All right, Donny, any last question here before we
but I guess the only question I would ask you, Kelsey, the last one is, what's the biggest adjustment to Coach Cassidy? Could it possibly be his accent?
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to understand, I guess.
But you've adjusted, right?
Yeah.
And as he admits it, during the heat of a game, he talks a little bit faster. It's a little bit worse. But
he gets excited.
Neil Cassidy, and thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
And good luck the rest of the season.
Thank you for inviting us.
All right, that's going to do it for the Cardinals Nest. Thanks for watching here on HBC.